Discord. Going to the Stat Tool on channel. Swing by office hours to go over chapter 2. There is chapter 2. Should pop right there. And let's go here. Let's get logged in. If you're in the chat, feel free to say hi. Mubot will see you there. And he'll say hi to you. I gotta log in through two-factor. How is everyone doing? Is anyone here? Can anyone see me yet? Get logged in. Okay. Let's go here to 201. And say, working on chapter 2. Say, office hours, chapter 2. Okay. Keep saying you have an announcement to send out, and I don't. Office hours, chapter 2. Swing by. Click here to join. Join and review. You can also get points. Okay, we'll make this all a clickable link. And there's that. And then we send that. And then office hours. Office hours, chapter 2, swing by, online, streaming now. Streaming now. Okay, there's that. There we go. Okay, let's get that chapter 2 opened up right here. Downloads, chapter 2. Okay, let's go look at the main screen. With that, disappear here for a second. Disappear. Reappear. We have some chapter 2. Let's do it. Some of the fun graphics we have coming to class. So let's turn off the Brian's doing work right here. Brian's doing work. We're always doing work here. Let's put up the Word document. And the way we do a lot of these reviews during office hours is we try to teach the concepts. So I want you to know the concepts and understand them such that you could explain these concepts to a friend and you can recall them. So that's kind of the goal of these office hours. That's what I've been doing this semester. I have help videos for every single chapter and topic, but I've been more using these office hours to go over ideas and help teach them better. Trying to figure out new ways of doing office hours that maybe help people learn the material. Okay, so if you're in the chat, feel free to say hi. Remember, that's how Mubot sees you. And let's bring me back on the screen right here. Whee! Now we're back. So feel free to say hi if you're in the chat. Maybe we've had some people join. Hey, good to see you right there. Ask questions. We're starting chapter 2. Let me put in the notes right here. So this is at the 5:13 mark. Chapter 2. Good to see everybody. Let's throw some big points. Office hour point right there. We're dropping big points for coming to office hours. We might do that every once in a while, but you just got a huge point burst right there for being here in office hours and saying hi. Anytime you join up, just say hi. Mubot sees you, and then you get points. You only get points if Mubot sees you. So, chapter 2 concepts. Okay. So, let's start. Oh, we got so many people. We got to do one more point. Okay, say hi real quick, because I'm about to throw out some big points again. And everyone's going to leave. But don't leave. Please don't leave. Please clap. So, with that, we're going to throw points in a second here, but let's start up the ideas. You've already said hi once. Mubot has seen you. Remember, every 15 minutes, he forgets you. And we got so many people. Caroline here, and so many people here. Gabby here. With that, let's throw the points. 3, 2, 1, point time. So let's start the chapter ideas. So what are the ideas of chapter 2? Well, we can break it down into 2 subsets. You ready? You really have the idea of displaying and summarizing data. Did everyone hear that? You've got displaying data and you've got summarizing data. So that's, you're not nice. Thank you, Gabby. You've got displaying data and summarizing data, but there's another way to break it up into subtypes. Let's go look at the slides real quick here, because I kind of pointed out, if you had class yesterday, you got to hear some of this. Remember, these videos are to give you some overview and idea of the chapters before we teach them. And here's the slides I was drawing on yesterday. What is the other way to break it up? And you kind of see it here. I always like starting with new slides. I don't post what I draw. You can always copy it or whatever. But I like for you to take your own notes, and you kind of see the big division I'm also going to point to here. What is another important idea for the division of how we summarize and display data? You see Displaying, big concept. Summarizing data, big concept. You should be able to talk to me in depth about those. Like people say to me, Brian, what am I learning? What are you teaching? Well, I'm teaching you how to display data. I'm teaching you how to summarize data. But there's a big thing before you display or summarize. You need to know the what. I'll make it very clear here. You need to know the what before displaying or summarizing. Before any displaying or summarizing is done, you need to know the what of the variable. So who can answer that in the chat? Write this down if you don't know it, because this drastically changes what we're about to do. You need to know the what of the variable before displaying or summarizing it. Actually, this graphic's really awesome. Nitro, good to see you there. These graphics up here are really awesome because they look kind of similar. You need to know the what. I'm going to try to make this super clear by highlighting it like 10 times. You need to know the what before displaying or summarizing. Who can answer in the chat? Good question. Before displaying or summarize, good to see you there. Moch, kind of. Good guess, Josh. We'll throw Josh some points. So, kind of. Like the context, I agree with that. Josh, good answer. But you need to know if it's quantitative, so we're talking about, and that's the answer we're basically looking for. You need to know the type of variable. Does that make sense? How many types of variables are there? This is a review of chapter 1 now. How many types of variables are there? Reviewing chapter 1 here. Notice how it all connects? How many types of variables are there? So it's back to chapter 1. How many types of variables are there? Who can answer how many types in the chat? 2 types of variables. There's really only quantitative and categorical. There's things that are put into groups. You also have like words, but then you could group that. Like you have written responses, but that gets put into like categories of like someone who's happy, someone who's sad, someone who liked the product, didn't like the product. And so you have responses that are more grouping, and you have responses that are more quantitative. So look at this right here. We can now break down our sheet a little bit more, where we would have displaying data, and you could display or summarize categorical, and you can display and summarize quantitative. Who follows me on this? Are people good on this right now? Look at this. Make it make sense. Put it in your brain that you got your type of your variable, and then you can display and summarize. So this makes 2 distinct ideas. How do we display categorical data? How do we summarize categorical data? How do we display quantitative data? How do we summarize quantitative data? Now, this is where, so these are the big concepts. This is what you should know. This is what this chapter is teaching you, is this grid of 4 right here. And the answers to this are basically, well, not all of them, but a lot of them are on the screen now. A lot of answers. And by the answers, I mean they're mostly up here. If you don't have this picture, I show it during my class, but take a screenshot of it right now. Also try to reproduce it yourself. Let's break down what this graphic is showing, and I don't expect you to memorize it right now, but I want you to understand how this graphic works. In statistics, we often have what is called the Y variable of interest. So I like to talk about the Y variable, like why is this happening? It's the variable you care about, you want to understand. So where do you see that on this graphic? On the right, on the left, on the bottom, on the top. I want you to find it with your eyes, because I can tell you where it's at, but I want you to recognize it right now. Where do you see the Y variable on this screen currently? Just someone in the chat reply. And then if you're at home watching this video later, find it. It's at the very top right there. Blake got some points for us all. Nice work, Blake. And also Lily right there. And Courtney. So it's at the top. Now, if you notice, what we have right here at the top of the screen is quantitative and categorical. Also, quantitative is marked in blue, categorical is marked in green, and we'll talk more about that later, but notice it's blue. It's kind of a hint for what it is. Notice this is green, kind of a hint for what it is. More on that in a moment. But there's a second way of doing graphics. You don't always use one variable. Sometimes you use 2 or more. So if you do one variable, we call that graphic univariate. Anyone got a guess in the chat what we call a graphic with 2 variables? If one variable graphics, which are up here at the top, these are one variable graphics, where you just have one variable of interest, we call it univariate, as in one variable, univariate. What would be the scatter plot, which has 2 variables in it? So there's univariate graphics, which just display one variable, versus a what variate graphic. Univariate is one variable. Think of unicycle versus, good guess on duo. Good guess. Think of unicycle versus a what? Like a unicycle means one wheel, univariate means one variable, and then bicycle, So bivariate, bivariate. So there's univariate, like unicycle, bivariate, like bicycle, two wheels. So bivariate graphics display two things. So let's just do a quick idea right here. You ready? We have the idea of a histogram. Notice how histogram has no x variable. If you go where I can't reach off the screen, you'll see nothing's on the x. But someone tell me a scatter plot, and I want you to go to the left and to the top, uses a what x variable? Is it categorical or quantitative? And a what y variable? Is it quantitative or categorical? I'm just showing you how to read this graphic right now. That's what you should understand. Not everything on here. But if you go to scatter plot, a scatter plot has what? Both quantitative. So this is a great answer right there. This is how a scatter plot would look. I've lost my graphic. Oh, it's on effects. That's why I couldn't find it. So a scatter plot would look the following way. Remember how it's both quantitative variables? So you need two quantitative variables. So if you ask people their height and their weight, personal questions here, that's a scatter plot. Who follows me? The fact that this is quantitative x and quantitative y leads to this being called a scatter plot. Scatter plot has two quantitative variables. Now let's contrast that. I want you to tell me, just looking at this graphic and understanding the variable types dictate how we display data. If I were to just ask somebody, what pet do you own? What is a graphic I could use? Look at the graphic I'm showing you on the screen, and I want you to tell me, how would I display what pet do you want to own? So take a moment, decode the graphic, and find the quadrant for only asking one variable. What pet do you own? So what is a way to display what pet do you own? What is a way to display it? So use this graphic to be like, we could display it with what? And this brings us back to our main topic. A bar chart. You're right. Keep going. Let's see if we get a few more answers. Bar chart's an answer. Frequency table. Exactly. And if you look at where people are giving answers from, they're giving answers from this quadrant. Because what pet do you own is one question. Notice how it says one variable, one y variable, one variable of interest. What pet do you own? So all of these are plausible answers. So let's pretend we ask people what pet do you own. Let's just do it right here. Okay, we're only going to do dogs or cats. You can ask more than this. But let's say start a poll. Let's say, what is better, dog or cat? We're going to take, what is better? Okay, I would put bunny on there, but we're going to make it simple. So answer right now. What is better, a dog or a cat? We'll give it like 20 seconds right here. Ooh, right now it's a landslide for one of the two. So notice the question I asked is categorical. Let's only display that at the moment. Right now, we are going to display categorical data. Surely someone's going to vote cat, lest this be very boring. If you're in the chat, vote cat right now, just so we don't have this landslide. We'll just wait another 5 seconds here. If you haven't clicked the button, click cat for me. I can't click it. It won't let me vote on my own poll. Well, it's a landslide. I can't even cheat the vote. Well, we're going to get a graphic that looks the way a landslide looks. Okay, so here is the votes with 9 votes in. You know what? We'll pretend and one person walks through to the door and votes cat. So here's the way it would look right now. Just make it cats 10%. We will. That's what we're going to do right here. So dogs just, man, cat people, why are you not in office hours? So right here, look at this. We have cat, dog, decent TV show. What kind of graphic has Brian created right here? What is the name of this thing called? Well, it kind of looks like a table showing how frequently things occurred. What should we call it? It looks like a table that shows the count or frequency of things occurring. Any ideas for a name for it? A table that shows how frequently the groups occurred? A frequency table, exactly. So that's called a frequency table, showing you how frequently the things occurred. Think of mnemonics like that to remember it. Now, this doesn't make the data quantitative, because remember the question was, what's better, cat or dog? We're just counting every time someone said cat or dog. Be very careful. A lot of people say, but isn't that quantitative now because 9 people said dog? But we didn't ask a question, how many people think dogs are better? We asked, what's better, cat or dog? And then someone said dog. And then if we change it just slightly, we'll call this frequency table, F-R-E-Q table. And once again, remember, if my handwriting is too sloppy, you've got this right here. All the answers I'm talking about are pretty much up there currently on the screen in this top quadrant, if you want to write that down or pause the screen on that. And then what would we call this where it's relative to 100% now? So now this table is going to be relative to 100%. So let's kind of come up with a name for this. It could be a decimal or out of a percent. But what should we call this frequency table that's now relative to 100%? Listen to my words. It's a frequency table that's relative to 100%. And all the answers are in the notes. So I want you to recall it. I want you to remember it. I want you to draw these things out with me. It's the way you remember things, just taking notes and being like, oh, well, that's a frequency table that's relative to 100%. So what should we call it? But the notes got a really good hint. I'll start it out. Relative frequency table. Yes. Relative frequency table. And then one of my favorite things, you can make a pie chart of your favorite bars and a bar chart of your favorite pies. So if you literally ask people in the chat right now, like, what's your favorite pie? I got to go with Oreo pie. So Oreo pie would get a 1 right here so far. What are people's favorite pies? Go ahead and chat. Someone quick. Someone gonna say apple and rhubarb and what else we got? It's only 1 vote for Oreo right now. We got apple, cherry, key lime, oh gosh, look at, I gotta go across all these. Look at this bar chart. Right now it's all this with apple, cherry, pecan, another pecan, so pecan gets another stack on there for another person. You would usually, I'm just having to draw it this way because we got multiple people and I have to add it up. Pecan is the only one at 2 right there. Picard sounds like I'm on Star Trek. So we could change this now to a relative. Do you notice how there's a frequency? There's a frequency bar chart, but you could, so we'll put bar above this. This is a frequency bar chart, but you could make it relative with 5 people, where this would be 20%. Does everyone notice how this is a relative frequency bar chart now? You can just say it's a relative bar chart. It is a bar chart. That is the number one thing to know what this is called, but you would say with a relative frequency. Who follows me? Relative frequency, because it's using this, versus a frequency bar chart is going to show you how frequently the things occurred. And I just deleted my stuff. So this is a frequency bar chart. Relative deals with percentages or decimals. So you could also change it to, sometimes people do a relative frequency with this right here. So it's out of 1. It's relative to 1 or 100%. Good answers, Blake, in questions. So relative means like out of 1 or 100%. So when you say relative frequency, it means there wasn't 0.1, there was 0.1 as a percent out of 1, or like 10%. So that's still a relative frequency table. And you could simply just turn this into a pie chart. So that was 40%. So each of these need to be like, okay, 40% kind of looks like that. Oh, really? And then this is 20 and this is 20. That's about right. So you'd have apple, Oreo, cherry, pecan. Who follows me on this? This down here is a pie chart. And this is a bar chart. And then what's really cool is if you put the bars in order, what is the bar chart called? This one's kind of not that interesting, but if you put the bars in order with pecan being first, so you got pecan, you got apple, Oreo, and cherry, this is now a special case bar chart called a what? A special case bar chart that has been put in order from least to greatest. Good trick to do is have the notes open right here because you can cheat and be like, let me go here and look at this. A Pareto, Jack, great answer right there. So now that is a special case bar chart that has been put in order from least to greatest, and it is a Pareto chart. So now that has become a Pareto. And it can be frequency or relative frequency. That's not what we're here to do. It's just a Pareto if it's been put in order. Great answer, Courtney. Last one to mention is a ring chart. The ring chart is just the pie chart with the center of it cut out. So we just draw the same graphic again right here with Oreo, cherry, apple, and pecan. And we have a ring chart, and you could put the counts or the percentages. So this would be a frequency ring chart, and this would be a relative frequency pie chart. Who follows me on this? This is now a relative frequency pie chart because I'm doing out of 1. So the technical term for this one would be, I'll highlight it as I say it, relative frequency pie chart, frequency ring chart, and depending on what the axis is over here, so this would be, if we put the 0.20, 0.40, this would be a relative frequency Pareto. It's also a bar chart. Why did they make that one? Interesting. Yeah, it's all whatever you choose to display it as. Once again, there's no right or wrong way to display data, except no one likes ring charts, hence sad face, ring pops, not ring charts. But any of these are just ways to display it. So you can display your categorical data with any of these, pie chart, bar chart. And one of my favorite sayings, you get to see the video in class, I didn't show it last class, I should have, is you can make a pie chart of your favorite bars and a bar chart of your favorite pies. Marshall Erickson knows what we're talking about here. But how do you summarize the data? And I should have marked, let me put right here, 1313, close enough. Chapter 2, displaying categorical data. So now we're into the summarizing of categorical data, the summarizing of it. Chapter 2, summarizing categorical data. Frankly, this is the easy one because we've already mentioned it. To summarize categorical data, you really only give the whats. We've talked about how to display it, but can anyone think how I was summarizing it? What are 2 terms, or 3 if you want to do 3, on how to summarize? We kind of did it. This is the easy part of the chapter. How was I summarizing it? Just think, summarizing means to take it all and turn it into an aggregate almost. Like to be like, well, I asked people how many cats and dogs they liked, and I asked people what kind of pies they liked. Here's what it looks like. That's a display of it. But, well, the displays are, that's graphical is displaying. Good answer right there. So when we think of graphics, that's displaying. Visuals are displaying, but how do we summarize? Like, here's a summary of how my students did on the test, which would be on the quantitative side. My students had an average of an 80 on the test. That'd be summarizing it. Another summary could be the student who did the best on the test got 100. That's summarizing the data. Summarizing is bringing numbers to it, bringing some sort of aggregate, like summing things up. So how were we summarize? We were doing summarizing. So this is the display, but the display also has a summary in it. The summaries can be used in displays. Can anyone think of? Yes. So, and you're right. How did we do that here? Let me throw you some points. Keep answering. How did we do that up here? Where was a summary? The what's and the what's. I want you to figure, because if you figure it out, you know it. If I tell you. You're right, Josh. Keep going. What did I call them? I want you to remember it and be like, oh, that's the summarization of the variable. It is the describing. And there's only a y right here, or an x if you want to call it an x variable. There's only one variable in this instance. It's univariate. But what did I call these things? What did I call them? What did I call them? What was the summarization of it? If you say it, you'll remember it better than me. They are aggregates. So that's the grand idea, is they're aggregates. But how do you aggregate? Well, I'll answer in 1 second. So try one more. I want to let me do this. I'm throwing some big points for everyone taking a shot at this. You got 1,000 points for just taking a shot. That's 5 times more points than I usually give. I want to say thank you for just taking guesses. I'm going to give it another 30 seconds, see if we can get it. And I'll try to drop more hints. What are these called when you deal with categorical variables? What are these called? What are these called? Like, don't go too extreme. I'm trying to drop some huge hints. The frequency is the same. Yes. Yeah, that's when you say how frequently something occurred, that's a summary. Does that make sense? Like, you ask people, what kind of pizza should we get? And then you could display it, but then you could also say 10 people wanted this pizza, 5 people wanted this pizza, and that's summarizing the data. Does that make sense to what a summary is? Like 10 people wanted this, 5 people wanted this. That's a summary or an aggregate of the whole, like, because that quantifies what occurred. Also, like the ratios, the relative frequencies are summaries. So when you get into summarizing the data for categorical, you're looking at things like the count, which another name for count is frequency. You could also do the percent or relative frequency. Does that make more sense what I was looking for right there? Like these things in here, I don't want to use the same color. Like the counts are these. These are the counts. Those are the counts. That's a count, that's a count, that's a count, that's a count. Which is the same thing as a frequency. How often did it occur? What's the count of observations? The relative or percent, that's more of a relative. It is kind of a percent. And you can just kind of flip them because you can just change that to 40%. But these are the summarizations. Who follows, and I think that might help right there. Maybe I'll just put it to one pager at the moment, trying to get it on one page. But I think this might show you, like, these are the displays up top, and oftentimes displays can contain in them the summary of the data. Frequency tables are great ways to mainly summarize. It's a rather small display. But this right here, exactly summarizing how frequently they occurred, is going to give you a summary of the data. How often did someone vote for this option? Now we get into the big part. We'll do a part 2 on this, not right now, but let's start talking about this a little bit. How do we display quantitative data? So I've asked students, how tall are you? Let's mark this in the video. What graphic could be used for displaying how tall are you? What graphic can be used to display how tall are you? Now, the first thing you want to do is ask, close, Josh, close. We're only asking, though, how tall are you? Not an additional. And Josh, you're on the right track, because ask yourself, is that uni or bivariate? Uni, Kinley's got one. Kinley's got one. So look where Kinley's at. Josh has got another now. So the first thing we recognize is how tall are you is one question, making it univariate. So a univariate graphic is going to be up here. There's no x variable. That's why the x on the far side has nothing in it. There's only a quantitative y variable when we ask, how tall are you? How old are you? How much do you weigh? Just as one question, not at all at one time, like to display on one graphic, a trivariate graphic or multivariate. Stem and leaf, Zachary knows, needs a key. True. So we have histogram, box plot, stem and leaf are all great ways to display this. So, like, do it right here. If you want, answer how tall you are. You don't have to. You can make something up. If it's crazy, I might not graphic. But I am 75 inches tall. How tall are you? Who wants to answer right here? You don't need to answer if you don't want. If you're like, too personal. But if you want, answer. We'll see if we get a few answers right here. And then I will display it on the screen. 73. So we got 75, 73. Anything else? 2 individuals. Try to get at least 5. But once again, we'll give it a second. If no one else answers, that's all right. 70 inches tall. 6'4". Whoa. 76 inches tall. Everyone's so tall. 72 inches tall. And 67 inches tall. There we go. Okay, I'm going to stop right here with all the data. Okay, I think we got everyone marked down right here. We have 6 observations. 6 observations. Does everyone see that? So now what's our goal with these 6 observations? Our goal is to display and summarize this. So here's what's going to you're going to be like, mind blown. What is this graphic called? I'm going to go... Well, you're like, what are you drawing, Brian? I don't even know yet. I know what I'm drawing. Okay, let's go here and go... No, I want to go to 67.5. There we go. And then I'm literally right now displaying and making this by scratch, which you don't usually need to do. We will not have you draw one of these by hand. There's that. I'm counting up individuals. Here's this. Who knows? It is a number line. There's that. And there's this. What is this graphic called? Who knows the name of the graphic we just created? It is a histogram. Great answer. Let's try some points right there. So that is a histogram. So this graphic is called a histogram. Now, a lot of people think it's a bar chart because it's got bars to it, or bins. But don't worry if someone said bar chart. No one said it, though. This is a histogram. A histogram looks a lot like a bar chart, but when you look at a bar chart, the axis on a bar chart, what does it have below it? Think of a C word. Like when we talked about cat, dog, or bunny, the axis on a bar chart below it, this has a number line. A bar chart has what? A bar chart is not quantitative. This is a bar chart, and the thing below it is the categories, right? It has categories. So this has a number line making it quantitative. So that's a number line there telling you. Now I want you to think about you. So if you did this example with me right here, does everyone understand how I drew this and why I drew this? Because the person who is 70 inches tall would go into this bin right here. The person who's 72 inches tall goes into this bin, giving this bin a height of 2. The person who is 75 inches tall would, we made a mistake right here. I think there's one error on the histogram. I think it should be this. There, that's right now, I think. So, and the reason is, if you're 75 inches tall, you go into the bin that starts at 75. So it would be this person and this person go into this bin right here. 72 and 70 go into this bin. 73 is the one individual in this bin, and 67, who feels like this makes more sense right here? I know it's a lot of colors on the screen, a lot going on, but does everyone see how these heights are associated with how many individuals are in each bin? You can see through my crazy drawing right here, the green, there's one person in that bin at 73, which would land there. The 75 and 76 go into this bin because they're between those. So you can see how these heights line up with how tall people are. Now, what's really great is, and we can kind of do a moderate sketch of this, is if we were to put everybody in a line right here, let's line everybody up. You ready? So this is another way to graph out the data, is we would say we have someone who's 67 inches tall, we have somebody who's 70, if I mess this up, let me know, 72, 73, 75, and 76. Now, we need to find the median of these numbers. So what is the median of these numbers? Who knows how to get the median, which is more of a summary of the data? We're just going to do it right here. So maybe let's bring it down here. What is the median? We've kind of broken into the next topic, but it's needed to display it a different way. To find the median, you find the middle number. You pretty much make a seesaw. Since there is no middle number, what do? What is the median? The median is the middle number, but there is no middle number. So what do? And you got it, Josh. It's 72.5. If there was a middle number, like if for some reason we had an extra person on here, like another person was 67 inches tall, well, now there is a middle number. I like to, you write the numbers down, you put them in order. Since there is a middle number now, this is just a counter example where we do have a middle number. So now the median would be this number. If there is no middle number, simply average the two numbers. So once again, I like to draw it out on a number line. We never give you too many numbers. We do this right here. Now comes the hard part, and we do not have you solve this by hand. So the median is the 50th percentile. This would be the 0 percentile in the data. This would be the 100th percentile, the tallest person. And then we'd have somewhere around here is the 25th. Who follows me? That 25% of people are that height or lower. We do not have you find what is called Q1. This can be technically called Q2. Think of 2/4. And Q3 would be somewhere around here. And that's where the 75th is at. We do not have you find Q3 and Q1. And it is the midpoint right there. It's the 50th percentile. Half of the people, 50%, are below that height. Half of the people are above that height. Does that make sense right there, Mo Chicken? Let me know if there's any issues. Makes sense. I like that. So the quarters represent how much of the data have you gone through. Now, this is why this is important, is you simply take these quarters right here and you draw where Q1 and Q3 are at. And notice Q1 is at 70, and that becomes the start of the box. And Q3 is at 75, and that becomes the end of the box, which is the IQR. How long is the IQR here? Someone tell me mathematically, how big is what is called the IQR, which is the range of the interquarters? It is 5. You just got it. And the math for it is, if you want to solve the math by hand, Q3 minus Q1. So IQR equals Q3 minus Q1. And it's literally just the length of 75 to 70. It's that long. Ironically, the median is at the center of this. It doesn't have to be, it's just happenstance. So the median of 75, 72.5 is right here. And then we would need to figure out, which I don't want to go too much into the whiskers right now, but we would need to figure out how far out the whiskers can go. And I'm not going to go too big in detail on that. But this is called a what? What is that graphic? So the big thing to know right now is the graphic I just drew using the 5-number summary is called a what? I might do one more topic on this. The graphic I just drew right, I'm trying to find a new color to highlight it with. This graphic right here is called a what? A box and whisker plot. A box and whisker plot is the visualization of the 5-number summary. So if you're taking notes, write down that. A box and whisker plot is a visualization of the 5-number summary. Well, what's the 5-number summary? The easiest way to remember the 5-number summary, and this is good practice, is to draw 4 quarters. So let's draw 4 quarters out on the screen. You ready? Quarter 1, 2, 3, 4. There's our 4 quarters. A quarter is worth 25 cents. So since a quarter is worth 25 cents, I want you to imagine everyone in the class takes the test. You ready? And there's like 100 people in the class. So 100 people are in the class. With 100 people, we can actually make 100 people really easily. So to make 100 people, there's 5. There's 25. Very important. Look at this. Boom. 100 students, visually accurate graphic. There we go. There's your 100 students. Tell me about this person who took the test right here. Tell me about them. That person here at the very top, the 100th person. What would you call them in terms of grades? If we were to say, this is the max of the class, the max grade. They got the whatest grade. That person got the whatest grade. That person got the whatest grade. The highest grade. So they're the max. They're the max. Now if we go all the way to the other side of the graphic, what are you going to call this individual down here who you don't want to be? I mean, nothing wrong. Hey, no shame, no shame. They got the whatest grade. The min. So this is the minimum grade. This is the maximum grade. Now somewhere in about here, between these individuals, you probably have to average, put a line like that, but it'd probably be between this person, like the average of these two people right there, like the 75th and the 76th person. There might be a person at this point right here. Just depends on how many people you have. It's 75% of people are below this. 25% of people are above this. We would call this Q3. Does everyone follow me here? Q3 means 75% of students scored below that grade, 75% of students scored above that grade. So that's what Q3 means. So what are you going to call this other red line down here? What would that be called? So think about what we would call this line mark here, where something like this right here, you'd call it Q1. And then what is the most common term for this split down the middle? The most common term, it can be called Q2, but what's the most common term for that split down the middle? What's the most common term for the split down the middle called? The median. Also sometimes called Q2, but more commonly called the median. And this is why it's called the 5-number summary, because check it out. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, and you're just dividing the data up into quarters. It's 4 quarters, but with the lines, it creates the min, the Q1, the median, the Q3 max. And each time you go up by 25% from the lowest point. You know what a really great box plot would look like? An amazing box plot, and this is more of a summary down here, but an amazing box plot of this data would look the following way. Tell me, with this number line and this data, what happened here? Would you like it if the test came out this way? What does this mean? What does that mean? Explain to me that box plot right there. I say, hey, here's the test result. Everyone got 100. There's no variation. That's the min, that's the max, that's the median, that's the Q1, that's the Q3. Everyone got 100. Woohoo! But usually you see something here. I'll show you a kind of good case scenario right here at the box plot. You ready? Let's do a good case, like a pretty good case. How about this? And I'll draw some hints down below. Put 100 up here. 90, 80, 70. I would be very happy if the box plot turned out like this. This would be an amazing box plot. And let's figure out what this all means. Okay, let's figure out what I've drawn right here. Okay. So I'm going to connect these ideas down here. So when you take a look at this, the min is going to be the what is point. The min should be easy to identify. The min is going to be the what is point. What is the min? What is the min? The minimum grade on the test. You can tell me what it was or how you see it. It's the lowest point. So it's this. Do not be tricked. It's not that. It's not that. It's the lowest point. The lowest grade was a 60. Now here's where people get tripped up. The box of the box plot is where Q1 starts. Can anyone take a guesstimate at where Q1 is? Where is Q1 for this box plot? Just take a guesstimate. Where is Q1? Use what I've drawn down below, and I'm going to connect the visual right here. I love the IQR2. About 84. I was going for 85, but it looks, as I was looking, I was like, take a guess about where it's at. I was going for 85, but I hit at about 84. And then Q3 is the top of the box. Does this make sense to everybody? If I do a box, it'll actually make a box when I pause. There we go. So the box of the box plot is Q1 to Q3. So where the heck is the median? The box of the box plot is Q1 to Q3, which the IQ here is about 10. I was going for about a 10 IQR. As you can see, 85 to 95. That's what I was trying to draw. Where's the median at? Where's the median? It doesn't always have to be in the middle of the box. It can overlap Q1 and Q3, which makes it weird. Around 92, exactly. That's the median right there. And I'm using the colors from down below to associate. And then the max is going to be over here at the end. So you can see the highest grade is somebody did get 100. Does this make more sense how to connect these ideas? You can see that there's more variation down here. The top 50% of the class is very locked in that area. If you were to draw a histogram of this, which we don't quite have, it might look something like this with a lot of the data up here, and then the data kind of spreads out down low, and you have the outliers. Does that make sense? Because we have to have, so this is kind of a fake histogram of it, there has to be above this point right here, half the data. So that's 50% of the data is contained over there. How is min outside of the line? Ooh, good question. That's because the min is a what right now? It's an unusual grade. Good to see you right there, Charlie. Hey, Charlie from past semester. Good to see you. Let's throw Charlie some points just swinging by here. What is it? Maybe Charlie knows or someone. The min is a what? The min is a what? It's an unusual observation that's far below what we would expect, so we call it a what? And these are things that are more than 1.5 IQRs below Q1 or more than 1.5 IQRs above Q3. They're known as outliers. And that's, I was trying to figure out what the length of the whisker could maximally be and where the fence would be. I put a little conceptual stuff, but the fence would be about there, and the upper fence is going to be over here at 110. You don't draw the fences. They are a graphical technique to denote where outliers begin and end. And that's kind of a big overview of Chapter 2. We didn't do everything with displaying and summarizing quantitative data. There still is more to it. Let's just pause for some questions here. Do people feel like they have a better foundation of this? I'm using these office hours. And thank you so much, everyone, for swinging by. Let me throw you some more points for being here. Remember, the video is timestamped to what I cover. So if you come back to this video, you will get some, and tell your friends, be like, hey, look, this is a mini lecture. You want to hear the concepts, the ideas. Yeah, and so I'm glad people swing by to check these out. And then remember, we will post help videos for every single chapter 2 homework. I need to get on that because I think it's gonna be coming up here due soon. We're gonna go over some of it today. Exactly. Are we still on about chapter 2 in class today? Yes. Oh no, if you're in, yes, today's class is finishing chapter 1, which is super quick. We'll start with Discord talk to make sure people on the Discord with a bonus opportunity. And then we will do chapter 1 finishing with randomness, and chapter 2 categorical we should get through. And then chapter 2 quantitative will be the focus of next class for the end of the week, because that's a big part of the lecture. Well, we're gonna do some in-person office hours. I should have brought my energy drinks to campus. I have soda, and I'm not allowed to drink soda. I already, quick aside, I broke my, you're welcome, Mo Chicken. I broke my workout schedule. Yesterday I broke it because I got home at 8:30 at night, and it was pull up and full body day. And I said, I'm tired. I need 8 hours of sleep. And I got 7.5. Because sleep is a huge predictor of success. So if 60 is the min, what is 72? Let me go look at that again real quick and answer the question. 72 is the lowest point that is non-outlier. Good question, Blake, right there. 72, some people call it a local min. I won't ask you that on a test. But 72 would be the lowest grade that was not an outlier. It's not denoted here in the 5-number summary. The min, the Q1, the Q3, and the max, along with the median, are the 5-number summary. 72 is going to be the lowest number that is not an outlier. But we wouldn't say it's the min. It's just it's a low grade, but not unusually low. Then there are 2 outliers here at about 68 and 60, which are outliers by using the 1.5 IQR below Q3 or below Q1 and above Q3. Get those workouts in. Where do we find the videos for the homework again? That's on the Discord. I've got it linked. If you can't find it, just ask on the Discord, hey, where are those videos? And I'll post the thing. Is there a max amount of bonus points we can get from MuBot? It keeps going. It keeps going. There's so many point levels with MuBot, Josh. Just keep getting those point levels with MuBot. Good stuff. Well, until then, thank you, everyone, for being here. People are already at 0.4 bonus points. There's tons of bonus levels to get through. Bye for now, everyone.
Hey, Brian, what's up?
Hey, Adam.
Oh, what's this?
Adam, what are you doing? Adam!
No!